Hello and welcome to this edition of the 80s tapes. The clap there, I've explained this before. Usually when I start to talk, when it says you're live, I think it waits for an audio cue before it starts. Because half the time when I say welcome, all you hear is welcome to. So I try to do that. Anyway, hello. If you've never been into this podcast, the first thing we do is a segment called
I didn't know.
I want this to be educational. I like to tell you who the bands are and let you know who the bands are and the genre and all of that. And I'm on a week hiatus. I'll explain that in a little bit. But the first thing is bands I didn't know, and since I didn't do one last week, this goes back to the KCPR tape. That tape was given to me by a girl I was dating. She was a media major. She had a show on the radio, and then you had to tape one of your shows and give it to the teacher at the end of the class, and that was your final project that you got graded on. And luckily, it was the tape because I said, this is all reactionary. These tapes are 30 or 40 years old. They've been sitting in a case. I kind of have some recollection of them, but since my strokes and my brain surgery, memory can be a little off. But this tape, most of the tapes are my tapes, so as I'm doing, I remember them and I kind of remember what's on them. And so I know most of the songs because they're my songs, things I record. This one, since my niche is more underground club dance music, she's on the radio, it's more chill and listening music. So I said, if YouTube finds them, there's probably a lot of them because I didn't know all of them. I knew a few of the bands. I knew REM. Um, I think I knew a Block Maj song. Anyway, YouTube did find quite a few of them. I have a booklet here that I put them all in. And the first song, Deuce, which was by the Sugar Cubes. Now, there were like three songs in a row on the tape that were kind of gothic-y, and I kept saying it was Tori Amos and maybe Bjork. But Bjork and Tori Amos are 90s, but the two people that are 80s that were gothic with female singers were the Sugar Cubes. Kate Bush, and there was a Kate Bush song, and the song was called Experiment. And another band, I love the name of this band, Waxing Poetics. That's a cool band name. And the song was Play Dead. Play Dead by Waxing Poetics. And another one I found was Then Jericho. And the song was called Play Dead. No, Waxing Poetics, the song was Baby Jane. Then Jericho, the song was Play Dead. And another, Sinead O'Connor, a lot of you, that Nothing Compares to You. Sinead O'Connor, that was her. She was kind of I don't know, I don't know much about her, but one of those songs was Jerusalem. I know she was a religious kind of person because remember on Saturday Night Live she ripped up a picture of the Pope. Google that, that's an interesting story. And then China Crisis, another band that I didn't know, and the song was no the band was called The Understudy, and the song was called China Crisis. And there was another song on there called Go, and I said it was Tones on Tail or Love and Rockets. I was kind of right. It was Love and Rockets before they became Love and Rockets. First they were Tones on Tail, which they formed after because some of them were in Bauhaus, and Bauhaus became Tones on Tail, which became Love and Rockets, and so yeah, there we go. Those are the bands for the segment that I do called Okay, so there's that. That's how we start off the 80s tapes. Then we usually will jump to a featured 80s tape, like a cassette tape. These are all cassettes that I play. This is a cassette. This is the one from 2 weeks ago, and the story of that is coming up. That's why this is titled "Oops." So at this point, I would put in a tape. I have a cassette player. I actually didn't set it up this time. I put it in. I kind of hopefully know a little bit about what's going to be on it, but then it's all reactionary and we just discover what plays, and people love kicking back, and some people come in and we talk about the music and we ask questions about it, and it's a lot of fun. It's for me, it's like, if my reason for doing this, I was thinking of if I did a class at a community college, and it would be called Introduction to 80s Underground Club Music. So we'd play some of the songs, and then we'd break them down genre, and then we'd end up having, a test about them, and we'd have some projects, and maybe I'd have you search and find some bands, or find other bands within it's just a fun educational thing, which is pretty much fair use as far as I know. Education, commentary, reactionary, sarcasm, all that sort of falls under the realm of fair use. And I've been playing music under my lives. I used to have a fishing show. If you go back and look up, that's why I kept CCB Uncut, because that's what I called it during my fishing shows. Uncut, because I'm not editing. Sorry, I forgot to. The second thing I do after the bands I didn't know, and when I'm getting ready to put in the music, I have this video I made, which shows a lot of images and everything from the 80s to give you the gist of the 80s and what it was like, and the people and the genre. Because I get a lot of younger people, not everybody's my age, I'm 60. And they've never really seen what the 80s was like. They may have heard of it, so I put that, and now it's playing. And back to what I was in before, I just realized I hadn't put in the slideshow. Yeah, fair use. Music. I put music underneath. When I used to do my fishing live, we talked about fishing that, and I had a band. They were from San Francisco. Of a local band, but the girl gave me a CD, and so I played it. YouTube, they never uploaded it to YouTube, so YouTube doesn't recognize it as copyright music, so they would never give a copyright claim because it wasn't on there. But I used to play it, and for years, never an issue. And last week, this is where the oops comes from. Last week while I was playing this tape, I didn't tape. That's why we called it the Mystery Podcast. Ended up, it was albums on here, 2 albums. It sounded like one band on one side, one band on the other side. One band I thought might be Giants. They had a song called Istanbul, Constantinople, Istanbul. Kind of sounded like them. I was pretty sure it might be them. And I figured after I was done and YouTube analyzed it, since they're a pretty big band, they would have found them and told me what band it was. And the other side was kind of a rock band. I said they sound kind of alternative rock. They kind of sound a little bit like U2. Had some guitar riffs, kind of like U2 and that. My co-host, my friend Cornvart, old subscriber, he's even been in my fishing shows. He searched for it on his wife's phone and said it was called a band called School of Fish. Never heard of them. Didn't recognize the music. But I played it through because I like to keep these podcasts about with the tapes, about an hour, hour and 40 minutes, somewhere in there. So I actually kind of got bored. No offense to the bands, and no offense to the bands that were playing, but it was, I don't know. That's why I like these mixtapes because you get different music all the time, or if it's a band I really love, and I love almost all their songs, of course. But this one, it kind of wore on me. I was getting ready to turn it off. As Get Smart would say, I missed it by that much. Because like I said, I kind of got bored. I said, okay, guys, not really into this music too much. There's not really anybody in here right now. I think I'm going to shut it down. And then a acoustic kind of song came on. I liked it, and I was like, oh, I kind of like this song. I think I will stay and let it play through. Then another acoustic song, and I was watching it, and then I actually turned for a second to look at the slideshow, and when I turned back, I had the Circle of Death going, and I thought, oh damn, I lost my connection. It's gonna kick me off, and then all of a sudden it came up and ended the show, and it shows you the stats down at the bottom. It says done. And I was like, oh, I guess it did disconnect. And since it disconnected, YouTube just ended the show. It's happened before when I was fishing live and out where I had kind of sketchy connection that had done it. So I shut it down, cleaned up everything, went out, went to the bathroom, had dinner, watched TV. I like to watch The Secret Skinwalker Ranch. It's on Tuesdays. So after all this, I get everything done. I go in there and I watch. It replays at midnight, so I rewatch it. Didn't think anything of it. Sat there. Around 2:30, I get up and I usually check my emails and my Instagram and my Facebook. So I went in. I checked it. I had an email from YouTube saying your video was taken down. And I'm like, what? And so I open it up and it says, since you've been abusing third-party content and we've warned you over and over and you're not listening and you keep abusing it, your video was taken down. And I'm like, what do you mean? I didn't get any warnings. I didn't get, it should say like copyright material noticed or warning, third-party content warning. Didn't get any of that, got nothing. So it says if you think we made a mistake, you can appeal. So right then at like 2:45 in the morning, did my appeal. So I don't know what's going on. I've done this for years, yada, yada, yada. And then I go about looking at my other emails and my internet. And 10 minutes later, I get a warning that I got an email. So I go in, I get an email, and it says, our YouTube crew has meticulously pored over your video. And yes, it does violate our third party copyright policy. So your video will not be put back up. So this that I'm doing right now, my hour and a half of the video and all the conversations and all the reaction and all that is gone. And it's not coming back up, according to them. And so I was bummed. And then on top of that, since they gave me a strike, and that's why I didn't do a live last week, because they put you on a week suspension. So for a week, yeah, I couldn't upload anything. I couldn't contact anybody. I couldn't do anything on YouTube. Off. And now I'm back on, obviously. But I'm on a 90-day probation. Double secret probation. That's why right now I'm not playing a cassette tape. Because I think it's AI. It's one of their new AI programs that's doing this. This is actually on an experimental program where AI analyzes my live. it takes a little 1 minute segment and it uploads it in your shorts under private, and you can use it to advertise because it picks the best, the highlight of the show, and like a synopsis of the show. And even those, when they first showed up, it kept giving me emails saying, this video is banned, you can't put this video up, you can't load this video. I'm like, what are you talking about? I didn't load it, you did. That short is not mine. That short is yours. And it's causing, and then it led to this. And what I found out is a takeoff, like Jimmy Kimmel, when Kimmel got taken off, it wasn't legal, and so there's a bunch of repercussions, blah, blah, blah. They didn't legally, and now he's back on. Well, when you take a show off, the bots can't take a show off YouTube. It has to be done by the copyright owner, and it has to be done manually. They would have to see me playing their song, think it was malicious or unintentful or disrespectful, and send YouTube a notice to take down the live. Which I did some reading on it, and somebody said you're more likely to win the lottery than get your live taken off on Twitch or on YouTube for I think it's called a DMCA. Is the ordinance or the legality law that allows them to take it off. The DMCA has to be submitted by the copyright owner. So I don't know any of the, I don't know if Might Be Giants, I don't know them, I don't know. My friend looked up A School of Fish. Evidently they were banned from 89 to 94. They called them alternative rock. They had one hit and 2 or 3 albums. I have nothing against them. I thought their music, some of it was really cool. Kind of a darker kind of gothic background to. Nothing against the band, nothing. So according to the law, I can contact the claimant. And so I went in, and under there I have a warning from them from a year ago, and it has take action where you can contact them. And that's where I went to file the appeal that they rejected. But now when you go back in, there's no take action button. And so you follow all the steps to contact the copyright claimant, and there's nothing there. So basically I think I was unlawfully, my live was unlawfully taken off the air because there is no claimant for me to plead my case or ask them to revoke the strike. And I don't even know, I think it was, and that's why I'm not playing the music now. I said I'm on probation, I don't want to fan the flames or anything. I'll do educational style lives like I used to do. We would just talk fishing, and I would have music background, but it wasn't the focus. Like this is a focus on teaching about 80s club music and showing you some of the styles and looks that we did and some of my stories about band and clubs and yada yada yada. So there we go. That's why this podcast is called Oops. Because last week, no, it wasn't last week, it was a week before, but oops, I got taken off the air and I had no idea. I got no warning. I got nothing. I have 30 of these up already, the same format, the same music playing. I explained this in the beginning. I was going to try and get an entertainment license just so they wouldn't harass me with all the copyright claims, because like when I used to own a clothing store, I had to buy a license so I could play the radio or copyright music in my store. Or if you're a club, like when I was a DJ at that club, they had an entertainment license, which legally allows them to have people play copyrighted music or bands play covers. So I tried to cover, all check all the boxes before I did this. YouTube doesn't offer it. These same exact podcasts that I turned this into are also on Spotify. Never an issue with Spotify. They go on, and yes, people lay obviously copyright claims to it and they can monetize it. Copyright claims are no big deal. It's copyright strikes that are a legal issue. So that's kind of what I'm dealing with right now. Sorry, I'm just reading what it says on the bottom. Yeah, but that's why we're in the, I guess, the Q&A segment of these podcasts. Because since it's the AI and its content ID is kind of doing things that aren't legal and it's experimental. It was just like the Waymo cars. They spent a year testing them in San Francisco and they had a lot of errors. They had to fix everything. Once they got everything compadre in that, then they introduced it to LA and now they're going to go over. This is something, I know they're doing experiments because I'm a part of it as far as the AI putting a little short onto my shorts to do a little highlight of the best parts of my life. So I know they're doing that stuff. This might be part of it. That might be something since I'm part of the Soprano group and I've tried to contact them. I sent to the feedback, you can send YouTube feedback. I feedback, I said, hey, I don't know what's going on. You did some reason you guys cut me off. I'm not trying to do anything. I've been following this format for 7 months, not an issue. Never been warned of any sort of issue. It's blah, blah, blah. Suddenly you took me off. And then the appeal. I did this appeal and then 4 months ago they took me out of the YPP, the YouTube program player, or what, the YPP, whatever, that allowed me to be monetized, and I've been monetized since like 2008, I think 2007. I joined YouTube in 2006, and they said, hey, do you want to become our YouTube program and you could get monetized and I said, yeah, sure, and sign me up. I've made a couple $1,000s over it, and then all of a sudden, because of the third party thing, they said that I violated their policy and that I was kicked off being monetized. And that was in April. I said, okay, well, when I did these originally, I said, oh, I'm not going to be able to monetize them because it's copyrighted music, but I want to educate people. And some of the copywriters, they will share revenue with you. They won't take all the revenue because it gets their music out there and gets more people to hear it. So it's a win-win for them, but some kind of anal and don't want you to make money off it. And I'm like, fine. I'm not monetizing it anyway. I just want to. Oh, sorry. I just got a notice. Fishing notice, because I was fishing over like 20 years on here, something, 15 years. But anyway, yeah, I talk about this on the very first podcast. I explain to people I'm doing this as an educational thing. I'm not trying to make money off it. I just want to explore my tapes that sat in storage for 20 years. And I thought it'd be fun. And I was going to, after this podcast, the 80s tapes, I was going to do one called the 90s CDs, because these are all CDs. I was a DJ. I could use CDs as well as records during my DJ nights and that, so I have a lot of CDs, a couple hundred of them for my club night, more like fun dance music and some that are actually mixes and me doing the mixing and that. So I was gonna, because this podcast is a finite podcast. When I started it, I think I have about 50 tapes. I said I'm gonna do this as long as I'm alive because I'm 60. I wasn't supposed to be here. I had 2 strokes and brain surgery 4.5 years ago. Spent 11 days in the ICU. I'm lucky to be alive. This was something I could do sitting here. If I stand up, I get vertigo and I get really weird and I can't drive, I can't work. I can walk. I walk 4 miles a day. They didn't think I'd ever be able to walk again. But this was meant to be something that made me feel worthwhile and worthy of, sorry, still be alive. And then I get shit for it because they give me a striking app. But I had to tell myself, it's not me. It's a new AI. They're working through it. I'll play the game. I'll not play the music. I'll be educational until October 5th. I'm off probation. I had one a year ago, coincidentally, almost the same exact date, actually, June 8th, which is kind of weird. They said it was minors in a video that violated their sexuality with minors policy. It was me and 3 of my friends. We were in college. We looked really young. So they thought we were like in high school or something. And I appealed that one. They wouldn't appeal it. So I just dealt with the probation, didn't upload anything sexual or anywhere near it. And boom, strike gone. I'm back to fine. Never thought I'd get one again. Then this one happens. And I'm like, oh great, this is something that's really fun to do, and to have them kill this. And so I said I appealed, I did this. I was going to go to the claimant and say sorry if I offended you. I didn't even, no offense, I didn't even know your band's name. But if you came in and saw me, I'm kind of funky. I got my funky hat on. I got my funky little Sunday's shirt, and they might have looked at me and said, "Oh hell no, that guy ain't playing my music in his live," and said, "Get that shit off the air." And then by my research, there was never a claimant. It was just YouTube themselves under the protection of a DMCA maybe took me off because it thought I was abusing third-party content and music, and so yeah. So that's why I'm here. If you hear my plight in this and you're listening to this podcast, which I guess is like a lot of podcasts where there's no music playing, it's just dialogue. I wanted to get it out there to people as to what happened to me and that this might happen to you. And it's don't take it personally. AI has no emotions. It's strictly like Spock from Star Trek. It's very logical. It logically looks for what it's told to do, and if you look like you're violating what you're not supposed to do, it'll react. I mean, that's why you don't want to become a soldier or something like that. But in this case, I took it personally, and for that last week when I couldn't do anything, I was like depressed. I was like, what do they do? Why? I gotta contact this person. I gotta tell them that I'm not malicious. I'm not intentionally trying to steal their music. They can take the money from us. And I have no way to contact my friends. There probably wasn't anybody there. It was, it was, it was done by the bot and YouTube, kind of like Kimmel was taken off the air by the FCC, not legally, but yanked it. And people protested, and they put him back on and said, "Oops, we're sorry. Please don't sue us." So that's where I am now. And I noticed I usually have a my co-host, I call him, my friend Corn Farts. He doesn't always come in, but he almost always comes in. And he didn't seem to come in this time around, but he maybe, since I didn't come last week, he maybe thought, or he's busy. It's understandable. He's not. He comes in. I appreciate him coming in. He doesn't have to come in. But I felt bad because I was on a roll. I had gone 7 months in a row, weekly, not missing a live, and it's to record my podcast, and every Thursday since I think January 20th or something, constantly every week uploaded a podcast to YouTube to keep it consistent. It says it takes about 2 years to grow a podcast, and I've been doing it now for 7 months. And if you're consistent, it'll do better. And now I've had this hiccup, and I'm probably going over and over stuff because I'm used to experiencing music while I'm doing this and going over the tapes and having a relive my youth experience because it was high school and college. It was a lot of fun. I'm going to get back to it, but now I have to wait till October 5th. And like I said, hopefully they've gotten all of the kinks out of the YouTube AI that's now doing the content ID. And unfortunately, I's one of the victims that had to suffer what's going on with it until they get it all figured out. Because the demonetizing me, I've been monetized since like 2007, like a long time, and this was my second strike in 20 years on YouTube, and I've never had any issues, any complaints. And both of the strikes were something that their AI got wrong. But nowadays with YouTube and a lot of corporations and that, it's hard to talk to a real human now. And if you do talk to a human, you have to pay a fee. Like I'm on T-Mobile, and if I go into the store to pay them, they charge me $10 for I forget what, an interaction fee. If I'm on the phone to pay my bill, and I have to talk to a real service person, they charge me $10. It's ludicrous, kind of like that T-Mobile commercial. Ludicrous, it's ludicrous, and then he pops in. Yeah, it's the AI world now. They remember we all liked it originally with the phones. Remember we used to have to talk to a real person, and a lot of times they would have an Indian accent. And then we're like, oh, cool, I can call, and it's just a computer, and I can just pay it, and I don't have to listen to somebody tell me about their day and their, or have a grumpy. And now it's gotten out of hand, and they're making everybody, and it sounds like a human, and a lot of times you can't really tell if it's a human or not because they're getting so good at it, and it's the world we live in. And there'll be a balance eventually between, and like people go back to wanting to talk to humans and talking to a program, to a bot, and it's all new. That's technology. That's the way it works. Unfortunately, I was at this point a victim of it, but talking to therapists like, hey, it's not your fault. It's not. Just keep going. You're doing a good thing. You're protected under fair use. They just got to work it out. Don't be negative. Don't take it badly. Just go back. Give them, play safe for the 90 days. Finish out your tapes. And then I want to do a thing called 90s CDs, like I already mentioned, and get that going. See if you can get a bunch of people to start coming in here. Get a good music crowd going. Because I didn't expect fishermen to be into. I mean, everybody likes music, but not be as hardcore about music as I was as a fisherman. And yeah, I said, kind of, I'm sorry for this. Not sorry for this podcast, but I didn't plan it out, other than the fact that I didn't want to stop doing them. Anyway, I can't do what I intended to do with them, which is play a cassette tape every time and discuss it and have interactions with it and educate people about the music and the genre and that sort of thing. So yeah, I think I've covered everything so far. At least, yeah, as far as what I want to talk about and what I explain to you, and if it's happening to you, it's not just you. And yeah, copyright claims are something you will get if you play music, and it's just like me. And I actually have 11 songs that I created. And when I get to the 90s CDs now, I will play a tape that's mine. And if I wanted to copyright it, I could copyright it, and I could submit to YouTube, and then if somebody used my copyrighted music, I could say either share revenue or block completely or share revenue. You know, it's that's why copyright claims are set up. Claims aren't a strike. Strike is a legal matter. Claims are you didn't get the license for it, so we're gonna collect the revenue after it off it. It doesn't do anything to your channel. It's like if you had a movie and you put music in your movie and you didn't pay for the licensing to put the music in there. The music owners could contact you and say, hey, you're making money off this. We're going to sue you for the revenue off of that. And that's where legal issues come from. But you have a right to contact them and license the music, and even in TV commercials, everything else. Like I said, that's what I wanted to do with this podcast. And I couldn't find a way to do it on you. I looked up licensing, how to license, can you license if, like when I owned my store, I was able to buy a copyright license so I could play copyrighted music with no issues. Couldn't find it on YouTube. Don't know if it exists. I know you can get in license for individual songs, but I don't even know what's on these tapes. I have no idea. It's 40 years ago. That's the fun of the podcast and the reactionary side of it is I don't have it written down. I don't look at it. I throw them in. We play it. I get emotional sometimes because it's back when I was a kid, back when I was discovering music and how fun it was, and it was me becoming a man, me striking out. Me had my parents had their music. I was getting my music, and that was sort of also a part of this podcast and what it was supposed to curtail. And I did make the video that plays. I spent like a couple weeks getting online and researching and finding all of these images. I went through rockabilly images, ska images, new wave images, gothic images, mod images, tried to get a whole range, and I tried to look for album covers, and then I put it in and made this cool slideshow with creative transitions between it, and so yeah, and that'll be one of the podcasts. I will spend more time going over the slideshow that plays. I was a DJ. I play it sometimes in the background. It's a video of all the raw footage. I made a documentary about it, so I'll spend a podcast exploring and explaining what's going on and the kind of like a narrator's edition of a video. So yeah, now I said it's Q&A for at least the next 3 months. I can't play any music because I don't want to ruffle any feathers, so I'm just going to be educational. And then I think I have 14 more or 15 more tapes, and I might replay the one that got taken off the air with that at the end. Don't want to push your luck with that one, just wait, push it down the line. Yeah, and that'll be about, I think I have, about 30 of these online now? 29 or 30 of them plus 14. Somewhere around 50, upper 40s. Yeah, get that out of the way. And then jump to the CDs and yada yada yada. Round out the 80s tape podcast. And I looked at this, I researched, I put the 80s tapes podcast enter in Google, and it gave me a really good synopsis of it. And you can tell AI wrote it up. It talks about the tapes, it talks about playing tapes, it talks about them being from 40 years ago. It did a pretty good synopsis of the 80s tapes. I could tell it was written by AI, but I'm like, yeah, it makes me sound really good, or at least the podcast sound really good, hip, millennial, upbeat, better written than I could write it because I always kind of downplayed myself. It's just who I am as a person. I'm not very boastful. I'm kind of like, yeah, and then like when I was a skater, I always thought I was a good skater, but I always thought I was like somebody's younger brother, where they would let me skate the ramp because I was good enough to skate it, but wasn't as good as them, but I was kind of like their best friend's little brother, so they would let him skate. Anyway, everybody else tells me that I was a really good skater, and I watch myself now and I'm like, damn, I was really good. But I just, I, yeah, I just play myself down. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. Back to this. Give you kind of a synopsis of what's going on from here on out. If you like the idea of this, you see this one, you listen to it, go and check out the other 30 I have up, or 25 I have up. Great music, bitchin' 80s music, and that's why I put that as a hashtag. It's bitchin' 80s music. If you really enjoy music, or the history of music, and 80s club music, go check it out, and then come back in and interact with me and tell me about it until we get to the continuation of the 80s tapes and finish it up with the other, I think it's 15 tapes I have left. I've been trying to do this, make sense and make order of it, as far as I tried to do the oldest tape and then up to the newest tape. As much as I can remember, like I said, they're 40-year-old tapes, 30 and 40-year-old tapes. So I've already made mistakes on a lot of them, like the Complete Unknown and Unknown podcast. I wasn't sure. I thought it was a tape. It didn't end up being tapes. I had good music on it, but wasn't the one that was in my mind. And again, I am gonna just end this because I feel like I'm just blah, 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 no structure without a tape behind me. So if you like it, come back next week. If you didn't like it, don't tell anybody you didn't like it. Just say, hey, you should go check this guy out. Maybe you'll like it. If you like 80s music, or if you've had an issue with the AI treating you badly on YouTube, listen to his story about it. It might be inspirational or help you out. And that's going to do it. I didn't have to use my extra battery today because this is only 45 minutes. And it's just been me rambling. But thanks for those that came in. I saw people popping in here and there. And if you like it, come back next week.